Hello and welcome to the third in our series of supporters Q&A sessions during lockdown. Today I'm joined by Duncan Weir, Johan Pretorius, our Head of Performance, and Ryan Kehoe, our Head of Medical. As in previous Q&As, we've grouped the questions into subject areas as there's been a few duplicates. But many thanks to all of those who have submitted questions, and they are Alex Wennon, Dave Kling, AJ Bailey, Reese Smith, Phil Roberts, Martin Deus, John Hope, Down Offerton Lane, Simon Dick, Callum Peterson, Alderney Rugby Club, and Lorraine Britt. So let's get going, guys. Duncan, you're looking fantastic, may I just say.
Thank you.
Well. So the first question, and it's one for all of us. How have you kept busy during the lockdown, and will you be glad to start training again next week? And Johan, let's go with you first, please.
Well, I think you guys probably are the best to say, Pence, but I think we have been very busy over this lockdown. In fact, I think we've been busier than we have been being back at the stadium, besides us playing games. I think the amount of training we've done over the past 5 weeks speaks for itself. So, yeah, we have been really, really busy. I cannot wait to get back to the stadium to actually see you guys face to face.
Had enough of Zoom calls.
Correct.
Dunky, what about yourself?
So, yeah, I've got she just turned 9 months now, daughter, so she's been keeping us busy. She's went from crawling to walking during this lockdown period, so it's been amazing to be with her every day, and it's been challenging at times to keep her occupied in the house, but now we've got plenty of outdoor space here, and it's been good to. The dogs have been treated like a couple of kings. The amount of walks have been going on, and the amount of attention they've been getting. So, it's been an enjoyable lockdown. I've actually really enjoyed spending time with the family.
Nice. And Ryan, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think as Johan said, we've been pretty busy throughout. I think, especially medically, trying to get you guys back into the building safely has been a fair bit of work from a lot of people at the club, but I think outside of that, I've been spending a lot of time on that Concept 2 rower in the house, just clocking up the miles. So that'll be my memories of isolation.
Nice. For myself, I guess similar to Dunky, it's been the time I've got to spend with my family that I wouldn't necessarily normally have. Johan, you've certainly kept us busy with the training, which has been very much appreciated. So hopefully we won't be turning up in poor shape, and obviously the amount of work you guys have been doing in the background to get us in, so really appreciate all of that. Question for us, I guess, Dunky, more than the other guys, how difficult has it been to train at home?
I found it actually quite enjoyable. Behind my right shoulder I've got it's similar to a watt bike. It's a big fan bike, so I don't mind going on that, plugging in the earphones and watching sports documentaries. Usually the best for motivation when you're trying to exercise on that. Obviously Johan's been giving us some lovely grueling sessions as well, which has been good. So it's actually been quite enjoyable, just going in your own time. So usually planning that around the nap time for the wee one. My dog Cooper, the lab, he's done every rep with me. He's not missed a beat, and then he goes and chases the ball 100 times as well. So he's in great shape. I don't know if we can get him involved in somehow and bring him. Bring the tea on or something, because he's in good nick. He's passed out on the sofa behind me, but it's not been that hard motivational wise. Obviously, being an athlete, you have to tick over and make sure that you're in good shape throughout the year. Even in your off season, you're always it's in the back of your mind that you're just watching what you're eating and all the rest of it. So it's been quite enjoyable, just planning your day, and usually for me my training periods is when she's down for a nap or late in the evening when she's down for her night's sleep.
I think I've been the same. It's almost like you try and train at the point in time when you feel the least guilty, almost, with the family life going on in the background. So I've been just get up first thing in the morning, get out the house as quickly as possible, just because like the first sort of hour and a half to 2 hours, the kids are actually quite calm, and after that, all hell breaks loose. So if I can get what I need to get done early, then I'm kind of there and present for the rest of the day. So yeah, that's been sort of my approach. For you guys, for Ryan and Johan, how have you been monitoring everyone's fitness? Ryan, should we start with yourself?
Yeah, it's probably a better one for Johan, to be fair, but obviously you guys have all had your GPSs for the last couple of weeks, which Johan and us have been keeping a close eye on, who's been doing what. So I think that's probably the main way. Obviously, medically, a few of the injured boys, they've been having their Zoom catch-ups, doing as much as we can over Zoom. I know they've been doing the soft tissue classes and Pilates and stuff like that. But as far as monitoring fitness, I think that's probably a better one for Johan to come in and see how he's been spying on you boys.
Yeah, I think what Ryan said, Pens, is spot on. You know, you guys have been using your GPS pods. We've been including you guys, have been sending your reports over the weekends to see what you have done. I think a great tool for us was the Pilates that we did twice a week. That's a great monitoring tool just to see how guys are. And I think that was almost like a recovery session, so to speak, to make sure that the boys can kind of carry on training, because there's no soft tissue treatment if you do get injured. So yeah, I think that was probably the best way of doing it.
Yeah, I agree. And just off the back of that, Johan, will this enforced break, do you feel it will be a positive thing for our bodies long term?
I think it's the best thing ever. Yeah, absolutely. I look at the majority of the players, the feedback I get is they feel fresh, they feel amazing. I look at myself, the amount of training I've done in this time, and I really feel great, and I'm not a player. So I think long term, yes, it will definitely benefit us.
And what about yourself, Duncan? You feeling fresh?
Yeah, I do actually. Was at the end of the 7th week block we had a Bronco at the Friday session, Johan. So that was lovely. That it was the final session. Your legs are feeling a bit heavy and everything's starting to ache a wee bit. But actually ran I think it was close to like a PB time, and it was the last session after 7 weeks of training. Albeit it was me. My little stumpy legs trying to mark out 20 metres every cone, but I was doing like kind of an extra one just at the end. But no, me and Sammy Lou have been running. We live in Pens, you know, you were a neighbour for 8 months or so, but we lost you, and now Sammy Lou's moved into a little square of 20 odd houses or so. So it's been a tight little community here. But yeah, we've been just walking down to our local park with the dogs, and I got a set of cones delivered off Amazon, and we've been marking out the distances. But yeah, I ran like I think it could have been a PB, and I still felt like pretty good. I still had more in the tank. I've done so many lunges, it's ridiculous. I don't want to do another lunge in my life, because it's pretty much the only kind of leg main exercise that I can perform, other than step ups going up and down the stairs. But I'm looking forward to get back into Sixways, so I don't have to do any more lunges to do my leg exercises.
I've been the same. Been lunging everywhere. Like lunging as a warm up to go running. Like it's it is good. It is good. But yeah, I agree. I think long term this is definitely gonna be beneficial. There's a lot of guys that would have had knocks and niggles for the first part of the season, so chance to rest up and actually, you know, when do you ever get this opportunity for this many weeks in a row to train? So, right, moving on to questions on the resumption of training next week. And Ryan, this first one is for you, if I may. What precautions have been put in place in order for players to return to training and limit any exposure to CV-19?
Yeah, so you might have seen the other day, but you'll find out Monday. Yeah, quite a lot has been done, to be fair. Obviously, there's the government and the RFU guidelines, but I think credit to the club, have gone above and beyond, and probably be worth mentioning Janae Willis, who's the head of the stadium operations. She's been really good with this. So Obviously, we'll be going back in small group training while adhering to your social distancing. So none of you boys or the staff should really be coming in within 2 meters of each other. Adding to that, some of the extra stuff the club's done. So there's also got a thermal imaging camera now at the front as you come into the performance centre. So you'll see it Monday morning. So we can do temperature readings. It's really accurate. So yeah, and then moving forward, it's probably going to be a really good tool to have. You guys already use your app, so before anyone comes into the building in the morning, they will have helped filled out their wellness questionnaire and make sure they've got no symptoms. Aside from that, just up there, sort of cleaning and general hygiene around the place. So there's lots of procedures in place for cleaning and your general hygiene. There's also a one-way system around the training facility now, which I'm sure everyone will be sick of after a few weeks. If you want to go to the toilet, you probably got to do a 2K loop to come back, but that's the way it's going to be. But yeah, again, Janae and stuff's done loads of work to set that up, and it's like really good. I think for you guys coming back, it gives you quite a lot of peace of mind that all these things are being put in place. But yeah, I think that's generally it. Most of the stuff we've done.
Nice. This is a bit like the government kind of questioning. I realise now at 5 o'clock, but another one for you, Ryan. What happens if a player tests positive for coronavirus?
I should answer like Boris, like don't go out, don't test, do test. If you do test, don't test. So we won't actually be at this stage. There won't be like blanket testing or screening. That's the advice from the government, the RFU, which makes sense at this stage. So yeah, we won't be testing. If someone's to, like I said, we've got those apps. So if someone's to flag up symptoms in the morning, they won't be coming into Sixways. They'll be advised to isolate for 7 days and have a review with dictate the club doctor. At which point they would go into, there is a like graded return to play system for anyone who's flagged up symptoms. So they would stay away for your 7 days, and then they would have to be 7 days symptom free and 10 days before they can start doing physical activity, and then it's a graded return after that. If someone wants to get symptoms at the club, they would obviously leave straight away and again contact dictate. And then the reason for social distancing is the fact that if someone was symptomatic on site, they won't have been in contact with anyone, so that shouldn't affect the wider squad. But generally, it's just going to be similar to the guidelines for the general public, really. And then if they do have symptoms, they can go get tested outside in the NHS. We could organise it in-house, but the advice now is that they go the NHS route and track and trace.
Nice, cool. So very thorough. So moving on to questions on the resumption of rugby, and this one is for yourself again, Ryan and Johan. With the current season due to resume in August, it seems certain that next season will extend into summer next year. What challenges will that pose? Johan, should we start with yourself?
Well, obviously summer it's relative, I think, in England, if you say summer. So from where I am, summer is really hot. But I think the only thing that we would have to be able to adapt, I think we probably would have to train earlier in the mornings. We might have to flip our gym sessions and our training sessions so that we get good quality sessions done in the morning and then be indoors to do gym. From a training perspective, when we went to camp, as you guys can remember, it was fairly hot there, so we'll have ice on the heads, nice spray bottles to cool your faces down. I think these would be things that we would look at. I certainly think it would raise the crowd attendance because it's good weather. So yeah, hopefully it might even just be a positive.
Yourself, Ryan, any views on that?
Yeah, well, considering it's summer at the minute, I don't think anyone would need ice on their head outside today. But yeah, I think it's probably more around planning as well. And I think probably me and Johan have had good experience. I think we had a really long pre-season last year, a really short one the year before. And I think in the last 11 weeks, Johan's probably planned about 400 different scenarios for returning to training of various lengths. So I think he'd be well prepared to adapt to that. But yeah, I think the next question may be around this, but I'm not sure we'll struggle too much with heat problems.
And Duncan is a man from sunny Scotland who obviously enjoys a bit of sunshine. As a player, do you think kickoffs would be better off in the evening during the summer months rather than in the afternoon?
On a sunny day, I always remember, like, I'll have a conversation with you regarding like where the sun's coming in. So you obviously, kicking wise, you have a big advantage of obviously the receiving catcher of looking up into the sunlight would be a major factor in the height of summer, I'd imagine. But it swings in two ways. You'll have a slight advantage in one of the halves. So I do enjoy night games under the lights. It's always quite special. Obviously, in the summer, it wouldn't really be under the lights as such. Maybe a wee bit toward the last 20 minutes or so. But yeah, I'm all for whenever kind of suits the club and whatever attendances we can get the most out of the kickoff times. And I'm happy to adapt. I'm not really fixed on an afternoon or on an evening kickoff on that front.
Cool. So another question for Ryan and Johan. This one says, are you concerned that there might be a higher prevalence of soft tissue injuries in the first couple of rounds of matches when the season resumes? Johan, do you want to take the lead on that one?
It's probably more for Ryan, but I think what I think is, if I don't give Ryan soft tissue injuries, I don't keep him busy. So that's my first role, I think, at the club. But I think, look, it's rugby. It's a contact sport, no matter what. So I don't think this would have changed it drastically. The amount of work we have put in place, I am fairly confident that we'll be better off. If we haven't done anything and we had to play on the 15th, I would be very wary of it. And I think we probably might have had more. But maybe over to you, Ryan.
I agree with Johan. I think looking at what we've done, I think we had a good prep, but I think there is a small concern. So if you look at what happened in the Bundesliga, so they had like 6 injuries in the first 8 games, which is obviously quite high, unusually high for football. So I think there's probably, but then again, it's probably hard to know what sort of prep they had, and they may have had a shorter window to turn those around. But yeah, I think there's definitely a small risk from a big break like this. But again, it's up to Johan and myself to mitigate those risks with the training programs we put in place now. And I think we've got a reasonable amount of time to do it. I would suspect there'll be a few fallouts, but there always is. I think every pre-season, every start of the season, you always pick up a few. But again, that's the nature of the game.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, cool. So moving on, we've got some questions for you now, Duncan. First one says, how have you enjoyed playing at Warriors for the last 2 seasons, and what has been your standout moment in that time?
No, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think for me it was my previous club at Edinburgh. I had a couple of kind of long-term injuries and one kind of slightly weird one that turned into more of trying to return from an infection. So just having a new lease of life and playing rugby and being, touch wood, injury free for the large part of the 2 seasons so far that I've played. So I've just fallen kind of back in love of playing regular rugby. It's been awesome for me. And most standout moment, I think the game against Gloucester last season the home game was a massive one. I think if we won that day, we would have secured a place in the Premiership. And I just remember the intensity that we started the game at. And Gloucester were obviously going on a great run last season. They made the top 4 and they were doing a lot of good things. So I think that day, just how the team played and just the intensity and just that we kind of blew them off the park, albeit they scored one of the tries of the seasons against us. But that was just an unreal bit of play. But I think globally, we were just on a different level that day. So that was probably my most standout win at Sixways anyway.
Nice. Another question. It says, how have you managed kicking practice during lockdown?
So I got a bag of balls just before the lockdown happened. So that's been really nice. Just even the odd evening when it's been nice weather, when the wee one goes down, just go and clear your head and go and take a bag of balls and just do some kicking. It's been actually quite good. I've actually made some tinkers and all the rest of it. I've been trying out different tees and just seeing if you can make any small improvements and seeking some kind of video analysis from overseas just to get a new voice in your head and just see if I can pick up something different that they might see that they're not used to working with me day to day. So I've been a wee bit busy on that front. It's been quite nice having that luxury of having 8 or 9 balls at the boot of the car.
How did you manage to get 8 or 9 balls off of Des?
That was pretty much the only thing, bar a 32.5 kg dumbbell and a TRX. That was the only thing that I really took away from Sixways. I know boys have got full and turned garages into full complex gyms, but to keep myself sane and to keep my body ticking over, obviously doing a bit of kicking and keeping the hips and the groins loose and switched on, that was probably more important from my side of things that I managed to. I know like it's like pulling teeth to get balls off Desi, so I managed to get that sorted.
Nice. Next question is, what's your usual process for taking a kick, and do you have any tips for an aging kicker with a varying amount of skill? That's not me, by the way. That's someone.
I just try and keep it as simple as possible. So my probably main focus is just controlling my body throughout the kick. So doing nothing too rash that maybe puts me off balance. And thankfully, I grew up in Glasgow, so I've kicked the ball all my life, even if it was a football for many years. I've got pretty good coordination of getting my foot to the ball, so I don't really have to focus on that stuff. So I'd say just controlling your body, getting a good rhythm with your leg swing, and probably similar to golf, just keeping your head down and making sure you're getting your body and your leg through to the target. Post kick is the biggest thing you can work on.
Nice. And then you've just touched on this, but growing up in football mad Glasgow, how did you get into rugby?
So to be honest, I've got no one in my family that played rugby. My dad was a keen racket sportsman. My uncle was more a footballer, and so at a young age I got dished out at summer camps of any sport, you name it. I've probably went and done it and got booted out the house for a week's camp somewhere. So I actually it was when I was at the dentist with my mum at 7 years old. I seen a flyer on the wall, and it was for the local mini rugby team going down on a Sunday morning and just go and have a bit of fun there. So I pointed it out to my mum and the flyer on the wall, and from there I went down. And I remember the first session. It was like a muddy day and didn't have any boots with me or whatever. I didn't really know what the script was, and I just loved it from there. Sliding them out in the mud. Just I was very fortunate that the group of guys there, from 7 years old, I played a year older, just for numbers' sake, at Cambuslang Mini. But the group of guys, when I turned up at 7, we stayed together, the majority of us, until under 18s, and it was the same coaches that took us all the way through. So I was very fortunate that I had such great people. To be honest, I've let them down on so many occasions of being committed to playing football. when I was taking that more seriously than rugby. So I was dipping it in and out, and for them just to welcome me back every time that I turned up from being absent for many weeks. I was fortunate that I had such good people there.
Nothing to do with you being a good player, just they were nice, was it?
Well, no, I managed to obviously do all right at mini rugby and all the rest of it, but I don't think I'd be here in the current situation that I managed to have 10 years of professional rugby under my belt if I didn't have those good people there, and following that up at high school as well. I had a high school teacher that fought the council to not build houses on our rugby pitches and all the rest of it, and fought tooth and nail to keep me at rugby, keep rugby at the school. So I've been very blessed that I've had good people fighting my corner from a young age.
Nice. And then finally, are you looking forward to playing against your former Glasgow teammate, Johnny Gray, next season?
Yeah, to be fair, I've played against him once before and I didn't enjoy it because he charged me down and scored a try. Nah, he's a good bloke. He's actually driving down to Exeter next week, so he's obviously going to pop in the way down. It's not too of a detour on his travels down, so he's going to pop in for lunch next week. So yeah, no, he's a good big fella, Johnny. I've known him for years. He was at Cambuslang as well, so no, he's a good big bloke. And there's a couple of Scottish players down in Exeter now with Sam Hidalgo-Klein signing down there. So there's three of them that are going to get it next season, that's for sure.
Slowly infiltrating the Premiership.
Yeah, I know.
This is next section is questions for me, which is going to be weird because I'm asking to myself. Is the battle for the back three shirts getting harder, and how do you feel about the competition there? Yeah, it is getting harder. Of course it is. We've got some awesome quality coming through. We lost Josh and Bryce last year, but that's kind of, I guess, spiced things up across the entire back three because there's a lot of guys hungry to play. It's not so kind of I guess not so certain who's going to be there, and there's a number of different combinations across our back three. We're pretty lucky, and there's very, very little, if not zero drop off really in quality. So it's always good, I think, to have competition for places. Next one, we all enjoyed watching the footage of the 2015 Championship final victory over Bristol. What was it like for you reliving that match? It was the 5th anniversary the other week, and myself, Alex Grove, Ben Howard and Tom Biggs, we all watched it on a Zoom call together, which was pretty cool. So having 3 other guys who were involved on the night, it was quite nice to relive that, and we sort of said we'll do it again in 5 years, and that's probably the only time we'll speak to each other in between. But it was fun and actually watching the game back, there's so many details that you forget about, and yeah, I mean, I don't think that will ever be replicated again. The sort of circumstances around that match, so it was pretty cool, and it still gets the nerves going even to this day. If you could bring back a player to Warriors who you have played with in the past, who would you pick? So this could be retired players included. I think we need to bring back a new 10, like maybe Shane Drahm or something like that, back to Warriors, just to steady the ship. Ryan Lamb, something like that, maybe. I don't know. That's actually a tricky question, because no matter who I say, I'm going to upset someone in the current squad, aren't I? So, who would be good to have around? I mean, there's so many people. I'm going to say. Someone like Chris Forty, who is a hooker, very talented player. Not necessarily wouldn't sort of be starting, but just the influence he had around the squad, just having a character like him around was unbelievable. And Duncan will know like rugby, the squad kind of feel of rugby is about the characters, and they kind of make the whole experience. So yeah, I'm going to go with Chris 40. Oh, this is brutal. Are you likely to stay in the game when you retire, or will you do something entirely different? To be honest with you, I don't know. I'm making plans to sort of transition away from rugby when I do decide to hang the boots up, and I'm going to become a residential property surveyor. So obviously that has nothing to do with rugby. But in saying that, it is the sport I know. It's the sport I love. So I'm never going to close off opportunities or close doors to rugby because I am passionate about it. So we'll see. I'd like to think, and especially with this time off, I've got a couple of seasons left in me. So we'll see. We'll see how things go, but never say never.